Hey guys, it's me Justin here, back with another review. I went and seen The Hobbit a couple of days ago, the Battle of the Five Armies, and the final chapter into what is going to be known as the final, the final, tr- the final nail in the coffin for the trilogy of the Hobbit films that Peter Jackson has made to tie into his original Lord of the Rings films. And before I get into the movie, I want to say that I've had quite a bit of a week. The past couple weeks, I've been kind of feeling down and blue because of some things happened. I had a experience a breakup that happened, and I haven't really been feeling too well. So I I've been trying to get in touch back with watching some more movies, but I've been kind of falling short because I've been having trouble with work and things like that. But anyway, I figured I'd give my thoughts on how I feel about the new Hobbit film that's just came out over the weekend, and it's going to be really sad to talk about this film because it's the last one of the series. You know, it's ever since Peter Jackson announced that he was going to do the Hobbit films, it really got me pumped on wanting to see the Middle Earth stories again and what else they can do with this kind of material because ever since I saw the because I'll admit I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. When I saw those movies back in the theaters from 2001, 2002, and 2003, those movies really captured the new, what we call the new age of fantasy movies and how they introduced a lot of characters that we love and we grown apart that it made us feel like the old watching the older movies back in the day with movies that took place in those fantasy worlds where you had orcs and goblins, trolls and all that. I really like that kind of stuff. And yeah, the movies were based on a series of books that I read a couple of them when I was in junior high growing up that were by J.R. Tolkien, but I haven't actually finished all of them. But I've heard that they're really good, and from what I heard, that the movies really capture the spirit of the books and also capture a lot of the detail that was given, especially with the extended versions. Because when you break it down, technically all three movies of the Lord of the Rings were all so basically just one movie. They were just split up into three books and split out into three movies. Now, the Hobbit book, I actually did read a little bit part of when I was growing up. I actually read part of it. It was a really more of a, I guess you could say, a more kids version, so to speak, of the Lord of the Rings, because the way that it's told is that it's a lot more friendlier. It's a lot more easier to follow with with certain parts of the book, and it was really more for like the younger crowd who were not really too familiar with the Lord of the Rings. And now it's kind of weird because I always thought about this before the Hobbit came out that it's weird seeing a book like that's about 300 400 pages and they split it up into three movies. Now I'm okay when it comes to movies that are meant to be like, they have a lot of material to cover that they're, and if it's like the last part of a final series, then they can split them up into two movies. Yeah, you had movies like Harry Potter do that, and you had movies like Twilight, which really didn't really need to. That that series did not need to have two movies. And you also have Mockingjay, which I talked about in my previous video. And again, when you carry a lot of material that structures it properly, and you have stuff that's actually happening and going on, that's to me that actually makes sense. You make movies out of it so that you capture everything of what's going on, and to also keep your audience intact. And to me, I feel like the Hobbit movies actually did that. The first Unexpected Journey really did that well. Okay, yeah, it had a slow start, but when he finally goes on his journey, when Bilbo Baggins goes on his journey to with the dwarves, it actually feels like classic Lord of the Rings, like the first three movies again, and it really captures the spirit of the book and also has everything that we know and love about the characters and how Middle Earth is grounded into this world that we love. And I loved the Desolation of Smog even more because it actually captured everything that we love about the original movies for Lord of the Rings. They had more action, they had better character developments, they had the music, everything kept you really grounded to where you're still following what's going on, but they're also kicking in the action as well. And now with the new one come out, I figured I'd give my thoughts on this one because it's gonna be hard to talk about this movie without getting a lot of spoilers out, because really, I mean, if you look at it in my perspective, and a lot of people, it's really one giant climax. Like, you take Unexpected Journey, which is a start point, and, well, kind of the start point. Like, you take out like the first 40 or so minutes, it's about rounds up there. Desolators Are Small and continues it from where it left off, and also follows it to where it bridges the gap, to where it's almost to that point, but you're just not quite there yet. Desolation or Battle of the Five Armies is basically more of an epilogue than it is basically a third part. Remember how in Return of the King, where when I'm talking just for those who've seen Return of the King and hardcore fans of Lord of the Rings, you remember how Return of the King was meant to be like so much happening at once, and that they were building up to the final battle, and you had one plot point here, everything felt episodic. Battle of the Five Armies now basically it picks up exactly where Desolation of Spawn leaves off, and for the most part, it does have, for like the first 40 minutes, it does seem like they're trying to do like a different angle, so to speak. They're trying to keep everything's a little episodic, but then when it gets to them actually having their big battle, this battle goes on for about 45 minutes, or maybe 30 to 45 minutes, give or take, and it's a really good sequence. Like, this movie, to me, when Peter Jackson, with this film that he did, he really captures all the editing, the cinematography is beautiful, the set pieces, the production design, everything, and all the action scenes combined are really crafted well, and they really make a big part of this climax. But here is what my problem is, and I don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the film. I actually thought that it was a good conclusion to the saga. It tied everything well together with the Lord of the Rings. It had great performances from Martin Freeman as Bilbo, and I also did enjoy the performances from, I forgot the guy's name, the guy who played Thorin, the lead dwarf. You really felt the capture of this character and how much he goes through, because in a way he kind of becomes like, well, for a brief part, for a little bit of the movie, he kind of becomes like Jack Torrance. He kind of goes a little nuts when he's just all alone in his kingdom, and we're not going to spoil anything, but there's something that drives him insane for a little while. But yeah, I really enjoyed his performance, and of course, I also enjoyed the performances of Gandalf, Sir Ian McKellen, as welcome, always great as usual. And you even have some characters that I really grown to enjoy well, like the guy Baron, I think that's his name, Luke Evans, the guy who plays like the hunter kind of guy, who tries to protect all the people of the land in the city, in that little small village. And I really am enjoying him as an actor. I think that he's really becoming a really great, one of the better newcomers that are today's in the acting industry. And the performances, everything all around is just great. But I think probably one of my problems I did have with the film was that the movie did kind of feel short. Like, if you notice that this is out of the other two movies, this was like the shortest. It was like about 2 hours 22 minutes, give or take, which is, I guess, is acceptable since it is pretty much a giant climax and they're trying to wrap it up. You're trying to conclude everything. But to me, when it comes to conclusions like this, it feels like you really need to make it longer. When you're structuring a movie that contains, because all three movies feel like 3 acts. First act's build up, second act's action, third act's more action, but then conclusion. It feels like they could have took part of this film and put it into Desolation of Spawn, where basically you kind of had 2.5 films instead of 3. Which, I get it. I understand that Peter Jackson did this because he wanted to build more background with Middle Earth and build everything to tie into Lord of the Rings, and he wanted to make his own trilogy right. And I get that. I understand that he wanted to do what was best to not only expand upon the book, but also to capture everything that fans of Lord of the Rings know and love. And I think for the most part he did that well with these 3 movies. But I think that it could have ended at a better. It ended too soon. When I left IMAX theater, I was just like, man, it's sad seeing it end like this. I mean, it was a great conclusion. I applauded and everything, and I really loved how they kept everything overall perfect with that when they concluded it. But I still feel like, and I know there's going to be an extended version out on DVD soon, but to me, if you're going to release these movies in theaters, you can at least try to put more like try to build expand more on some of the characters and give them some more like conclusion and give more resolvement to what happens, because there are a couple characters in the film where I'm just like, they didn't really do much after that, did they? And they could have dwelled more into those kind of characters. But that's just really me. I mean, I'm sure some people have said the same thing about that, where it felt too short and that it was too fast. It was meant to be fast pass, action, everything like that. It was basically the Harry Potter part, Deathly Hallows part 2 of the series. It's all action and it's just one giant climax, and that's for the most part that works. But I can't really get mad at the film for that, because I realize that maybe running problems, but maybe they were having a little bit of a tight schedule and they had to wrap it up quicker. But that's just me. I'm gonna, when all 6 movies come out on Blu-ray in a big package that contains all 6 movies, I'm gonna buy all of them on Blu-ray and watch every single one of the extended versions. Because me being a hardcore Lord of the Rings fan, I will actually sit down for 24 hours straight and watch all the movies from The Hobbit all the way to Return of the King. And I will do that even if it takes too long. I don't want to miss 1 second, because these movies are so fascinating to watch. And another praise I do give the film too is that the musical score is fantastic. Uh, Howard Shore, I think that's, if I believe right, Howard Shore did the musical score, and he does a fantastic job as usual. You get the feel like Lord of the Rings, you get the feel like this is Middle Earth. And even, what, even for the 3D, I saw this in IMAX 3D. The 3D was actually pretty good too. You have scenes where you have like the fire burning, you have arrows shooting out. All that stuff really pops at you in 3D, and you really feel like you're there when you're in this when you're during that battle. You know, I mean, yeah, there's a couple parts where some of the CGI looks a little bit not really cartoonish, but a little like meh. But for the most part, you're seeing a mixture of both like practical effects, like miniatures, and computer generated effects that Peter Jackson loves to do. And as that's really all I've got. I mean, there's so much more I want to talk about, but I really enjoyed the character arc for Bilbo Baggins and how his journey comes to an end, and also how he finally he finds his courage to become a journeyman and help, and he actually finds friendship, because the relationship between him and Thorin is really strong, and it really pulls you by the end of it. It really captures the friendship between them two, and how they've come a long way from their journey from when they leave the Shire, and then when they finally enter the battle with the dragon, and so on. And also the stuff with Gandalf and the Necromancer stuff, which I'm not going to spoil, but you get the idea of what's going to happen. Because hey, for those of you who watch Lord of the Rings, you pretty much know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's really all I got. There's so much more I want to talk about this film, but I would say that this is one of the most satisfying films that I've seen this year. No, it's not as good as Desolation of Smaug, but it's at least a good conclusion to this trilogy, and it's a great send off to not only the Hobbit films but also Lord of the Rings, because if they ever plan to make more Middle Earth films, I will be seeing those as well. But that's only if they can ever get the rights. But until then, I want to wish everyone a happy holidays, Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Eve right now. It's this morning, so I shall see you guys. If I'm not doing anything else later on this week to do with some other movies, I'll see you guys in 2015. And I hope everyone has a happy holidays. And I shall see you guys later. See you.